Hi guys, hope you're well. It's been 10 days since my last video. We had a lot of rioting going on here in London, so it has been wild. Hasn't affected me in any kind of way, if you're asking, if you care to ask. But yeah, it's been quite wild. So anyway, as I said, it hasn't affected me personally, although it has affected the music uh, community. And the reason is that there was a big warehouse in Enfield that was Sony's warehouse. They had some electronics there, but um, it also carried Pius, which is the biggest distributor here in the UK for music, and one of the biggest distributors in Europe for that matter. And they carried a lot of records and CDs and whatever have you for a lot of music companies, for very small ones that had all their stock there, and some other ones, some bigger ones like Beggar's Banquet, that carried stock from their own label and from Sub Pop, Matador, soul jazz, and everything got burned down basically. So there's a lot of records that, for example, for soul jazz, that if go to the shop or online or whatever, you can go there, and if they don't have it, they cannot back order it. There's no way. I was looking for some records that from soul jazz, and it was on Amazon. It was 2 to 5 days, so they would back order it. But now it's gone to 2 months. And Beggar's Banquet, for example, is, as I said, I don't know if I mentioned it, they lost 750,000 items. Not all of them records, obviously, but it will take them, they said, like 10 days to recover the CDs, and 2 months, 2 to 3 months to recover the vinyl. So yeah, I mean, and smaller companies, obviously everything is covered by insurance, but still, you need to press the records and ship them and whatever have you, which is a big cost. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And maybe Sub Pop will not be affected as much, but there will be smaller companies that will not be able to afford that because they had all their stock there and it's gone, it's up in smoke. So yeah, that's a very unfortunate side effect of everything that's happened. So yeah, well, anyway, that's life. Back to the records. From the stuff that didn't get burned, apparently. And oh yeah, and just to say that, for example, we had there were some reissues for Yola Tengo, and everything turned into to itself or something like that. I don't remember the exact title. That they were about to get to the shops like this week, but it got burned. Sanaro Romance, you cannot get it. It was in that warehouse, so terrible business. Anyway, what I'm listening to now is a band called Elm. The album is called Nemkatakoa. Beautiful drone ambient soundscape album, and it's one of the guys from Bar Now. Really, really good. You can listen to it in the background. Now I've bought quite a few records actually past days, and I will not show everything. I will show you some of the stuff that I have something to say about them, basically. So back home, I did show last video I did when I was back home in Greece. I showed you that I bought Hawkwind, Space Ritual, Volume 1 and 2. I didn't actually have that on LP. I did have a really good reissue on CD, a double CD, which was really, really good. But it's the vinyl is different, and also that there are different versions of the songs there. So I knew that one would just disappear almost immediately, and it's 1,000 copies. So and I was like, alright, should I buy the other ones? I didn't know. I was like, should I not? And then when I got back home, back home here in the UK, I started listening on Spotify to Whole of the Mountain Grill, I was like, maybe I should, and I did. So I bought Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do and Space in Search of Space, which I actually have on a very not very good copy. I don't think that it has the fold out. I have that back home, but this is a really good reissue, so it was really worth it. And Whole of the Mountain Grill. Now, for those that do not have any kind of don't know about Hawkwind, obviously space rock, psychedelic band, fantastic, amazing. It's a combination of psychedelic rock and science fiction. If you like the two of them, like I do, then it's a perfect combination, basically. So the only thing that I have to say about, especially about these two records, is that buy them, listen to them before you actually listen to Space Ritual. Space Ritual is one of the best albums ever created, and it's really fun because I was watching a documentary about it, and they said that they never planned of doing a live album. It just so happened that somebody pressed record while they were playing, and they just didn't know about it. So yeah, it's one of the best albums ever recorded. But if you listen to that first and then you listen to these two records, you have my problem, which is that the versions of the songs on these albums, which appear on Space Ritual, are not as good on this record. They're different. They're not. They're not as good. They're not as energetic. They don't have that kind of vibe to them, and it's just you look at them as being inferior, which they do not deserve because they're amazing. And then after you've listened to these, then you can go to Space Ritual. That's my recommendation. This does not affect the Whole of the Mountain Grill because it came out later, and you can go ahead and listen to it whenever you want. That's my recommendation anyway. Brilliant albums, what can you say about them? Fantastic. And that's it about Hawkwind. Now, going forward, I'll discuss something else. I've shown some records from a guy that called Umberto, and he is part of Expo 70. And I've shown these albums for Prophecy of the Black Widow and From the Grave. And I have seen them pop up in some people's videos. I don't know whether they bought it on my recommendation or not, or whether they discovered them. This guy, they did say that they liked them, which is really good because Umberto really is good. And I don't know whether they listened to me when I was presenting these albums, saying that this is like a 70s Italian horror flick soundtrack, and it takes a lot, it has a lot of not influences, it's very similar actually to Goblin. And we had a discussion with a friend of mine saying that Umberto, he introduced me to Goblin, which is this one, these guys, and this is the soundtrack for Profondo Rosso, and this is the best one, in my opinion. Anyway, I was saying about a friend of mine. He introduced me to Goblin, and I introduced him some years ago, and I introduced him to Umberto like some months ago. And he said, yeah, it's really good, but why not listen to the genuine article? And this is a genuine article, yes, it is. It's like a continuation. It's like Goblin continued doing stuff with the Umberto records. It's like that. Obviously, there is no connection between the two, and the guy is just really fond of these guys, and he just wants to make something that's really similar to that. And it's just a homage. It's not a copy. It's not, because copy has a really bad connotation to it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think that Umberto has value, but this is the genuine thing. And if you like Umberto, do check out this. As I said, this is Profondo Rosso. This is the first collaboration between Goblin and Dario D'Argento. They continued on, it was very successful. This is an Italian reissue, exact reproduction, and they continued on doing some more albums because this was really good, and they continued on doing Suspiria and and uh, and Dawn of the Dead, or Zombie as it's known. I have ordered these and they will be coming shortly, but in my opinion, in my humble opinion, and I think that this one is the best one. Now this is a very recent reissue, 2010, on an Italian label, as I said. Really good reproduction. The company is called AMS. Apparently this is like 666 copies, and yeah, as I said, this is the best one. Suspiria is equally good, and by the way, because I bought this one, I have and I had the DVD for Suspiria, which is this one. I watched it again, and my brain had wiped out what was going on in this DVD. It says one of the scariest movies of all time. I have to say that, you know, apart from the soundtrack, the movie sucks big time. I mean, the scariest thing on this movie is the interior deco, and more specifically the wallpaper, which is atrocious 70s wallpaper. But yeah, the soundtrack is really good, and having heard the Suspiria soundtrack, I know that a lot of it is missing from the actual movie. If you buy the soundtrack, it has a lot more music. And speaking of a lot more music, one of if there is one thing about this record that, you know, I could, you know, have a gripe about and just say, oh, you know, this is not blah blah whatever, is that it's very short. I mean, it has side one has 3 songs, which has like 11-12 minutes long, and side 2 is like another 13 minutes. So it's really short, but it's really good. Highly recommended. If you like Umberto, buy it. If you don't like Umberto, don't buy it. Maybe you should buy it anyway. Amazing. Anyway, that's it about Goblin. I haven't seen anybody showing this. I don't know if somebody has shown it. I've missed it. Don't know. Moving on, a Japanese band. Now this is not very well known band, and to be honest, I've listened to some of their albums online, and well, some of their songs online, and they're not that impressive, to be honest. I don't know, maybe it was at the time, I don't know. It does happen. You might listen to something, and then, you know, if you listen to it like a week later, a month later, or whatever, you might say, "Oh wow, this is amazing." But I don't know. I've listened to them, and, you know, their regular albums are not that good. I'm talking about this band. It's called Seisu no Fune, which means, I think, crystal ships. And this is a live album. This is a live recording. It was recorded in a shop or something like that. A very small place anyway. And although they're very heavy, psychedelic noise rock kind of thing going on in the regular albums, this is acoustic. However, they do use a lot of effects, so what it ends up sounding like is like Haralambides, if you've heard of these guys, on, you know, spacey Haralambides. If you can imagine that, that's how they sound. So it's psychedelic acoustic guitar music. I don't know. I mean, how can I describe it? Look up Haralambides and you will understand what I mean. It's in Japanese though. That's the main difference, and it also has all these effects that make it a lot spacier. So good stuff. Very limited run, 200 copies, unfortunately. but it's really interesting and it's not very expensive. So if you can find it, it's worth checking out. Finally, a record from I don't know how I ended up buying this, but I was really impressed and I'm really happy to have it. It's called Sylvester Anfang 2. It's this one. It's a Flemish band. As you can see, it's rather satanic, and the music is actually satanic hippie music. Yeah, I know that it sounds a little bit counterintuitive to say, oh, satanic and hippie doesn't go together, but yes, it does. I mean, Manson, Charles Manson, I think. Does it remind you of anything? Yes, he was a hippie and he was a Satanist, so these guys are pretty much the same. Much darker though, and I would say that they describe themselves as something like I cannot remember how the hell they describe themselves. They're like I don't know. I had a site open, but I cannot find it. Yeah. Anyway, yes, and this is actually a really good way of describing what kind of music they play. They play this kind of improvised, um, tribal, psychedelic music, basically. So a lot of it is very rhythm driven, and they have a lot of percussion on it, and also guitars, and it just changes from that kind of psychedelic free jam kind of thing into drony music, into more rockier stuff, to more dronier stuff, to more psychedelic stuff, and it's really interesting to have a listen to if you're not affected by the fact that they are Satanists. Yeah, and that's my update. I highly recommend the Anfang, Sylvester Anfang 2. And I will be looking up some more stuff from them because it has intrigued me, and I found it really interesting. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed my update. Do subscribe if you want, comment, and I will see you soon. And I hope you enjoyed my video. Anyway, see you.